we dealt with spiritual practice, and it's important to have a spiritual practice because it cleanses the mind and it prepares. It's a preparation that liberation can happen. It's not a guarantee that it can happen, but it's probably a guarantee that it won't happen without. So, spiritual practice of having the right view and having a meditation practice and all your actions is being aware of all your actions and how you live your life is a spiritual practice and is the foundation for solving the basic problem of suffering. But you need to be qualified. I mean, some teacher says that enlightenment can happen anywhere to anyone, and there is no logic to it. There is a logic to it, and you need to be qualified. And some people, we are to a certain extent qualified through our karma. And if you have been hanging out with this video so far, you definitely have qualifications, because otherwise you would have been bored long time ago. And so you have a strong qualification just to be motivated, or just to be interested in this question of who you are, just to be interested in this topic and reflecting on these issues is a qualification in itself. That means that you are prepared. Your soul is longing for this. We want this knowledge, and so traditionally there is 10 qualifications, or okay, there could be more or less, but let's do 10 of the more kind of traditional famous qualification. And the first qualification is discrimination, and discrimination means distinguishing between the subject and the object, is to analyze, self-reflect, do self-inquiry, and do the logical steps that we've been going through so far. That's called discrimination. And to separate the real from the unreal, to separate the subject and the object, and to understand how the movie house of reality works. Second qualification is the control of the mind. And once you realize that I am consciousness, I am not the content of my mind. Most people are completely slaves to their minds. Because if you think that my thoughts are real, you say things like, I am hungry, it's a complete mistake. I am not hungry. I am experiencing hunger. So thoughts, and whatever happens in the mind of sense impressions, thoughts, sounds, smells, touch, and so on, and your thoughts, memories, plans, desires, whatever, anything that goes on in the mind is objects, and I am not the objects. So when you can make that discrimination, that distinction, it's possible to control the mind, in the sense that if you feel hunger, okay, you don't need to rush to the fridge, you can wait, or you can skip a meal, or you can fast. You're stronger than your mind. You can control your mind. That's an enormous freedom, And most people are slaves to their minds. They think that they have to obey any desire that comes along, And then you destroy your mind. You destroy your life if you're being chased by your mind. And in the end, we can be completely addicted to all kinds of stuff, and lose power over ourselves. So controlling the mind, completely essential. And the third is to control the senses. That's already mentioned, in the sense that desires for sense pleasures and so on is controlling the senses. And there's a beautiful saying in the Bhagavad Gita, saying that those who does not feed the senses returns to the self, leaving the longing behind. I love that quote. Those who don't feed the senses returns to the self, meaning consciousness, leaving the longing behind. All right. So non-attachment. We get attached to our ego, to our bodies, to our desires, to our family, to ideas, political ideas, concept. We get attached to anything, because we build this mental world around ourselves, to our identity of the person I think I am, and so on. That's attachment. And so that's why, like if you want to become a swami or a sannyasin, you take these rigorous vows of like if you're going to be a sannyasin in the Indian tradition, you take a vow that you can only ask for food once a day. You're not allowed to touch money. You're not allowed to live in a place more than 3 days. Okay. Can you imagine of having absolutely no nets of security? You don't have money, and you can only have your clothes, and you walk, and you can only trust other people that they will give you food if you ask for it twice a day. So that's to test yourself if you can live completely non-attached. So in our extreme comfortable lives, that's really, really, really tough. So that's probably not where we should start. We should start by kind of letting go our desires, letting go our fixed ideas, and so on. So there's many ways we can practice non-attachment. So an important qualification is to follow your dharma. Means dharma. Dharma means what is natural, what is the way, what is the order of the universe. That's dharma. Like it's the dharma of the sun to shine and be warm. It's the dharma of a chess player to play chess. It's the dharma of a lion to hunt to survive, and so on. And dharma is not fixed in the sense that it's what is right to do at any moment. So sometimes it's right to fight, to show aggression, to defend yourself can be your dharma, and other times it's not your dharma to do violence. So dharma is this inherent knowledge of direction in each of our own lives, and there is a collective dharma of the whole world, and there is a individual dharma to our own lives. And so follow your dharma means that you should live your own life. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's better to live your own life bad than to live other people's lives good. So so the thing is that you have to tune into your own truths and follow your dreams and do what you came here to do. And this is a concept that we do. I believe that we do have a soul, in the sense that there is a deeper karmic purpose to our lives, and we come into this world with a sense of purpose, and there is tasks and challenges that we're supposed to do, and we can meet those challenges or we can avoid them. And when we do, we're not true to ourselves. So finding this truth is it's not kind of written anywhere, but you will find it in your heart by opening but your subconscious and your soul will tell you, because when you're on the wrong path, bad things start happening to you. You get accidents, people are nasty to you, things doesn't go your way, you start getting obnoxious dreams and so on. So there's all possible ways that, or particularly you feel you don't feel right and so on. So when you are on the right track in your life, you feel that you are where you should be in your life. So finding your dharma, follow your dharma, is a qualification. Earnestness means that you should do this with intensity. This is just not a hobby. When you really discover this and you really get a desire for being free, you do this wholeheartedly. There's nothing more important than this. So that's earnestness. You really do it fully. Forbearance means a certain tolerance that you should accept. You should accept what happens in life. If you really want to have peace, that can solve all your problems if you can just accept life. Forbearance, if you can accept whatever happens, and not being driven by your ego, that the ego wants to have reality on his own terms. It's bound to be a big, big, big disappointment. So if you can go with the flow and accept life, that's key to the highway, for sure. Trust. Trust is very important in the sense that you could also call it faith. This is not a religion. So there is nothing to believe, but you need to have trust. You need to have trust in this tradition. You need to have trust in the knowledge, because you're not able to do every day the logical steps, but you need to rely on this knowledge, and in the beginning you need to trust it. When eventually you realize you don't need any traditions, you don't need the teaching anymore, but because you will realize these things through your own experience. So it's not a belief anymore, and it's not a religion. It's a purely logical investigation of reality on how of your own experience. Another qualification is devotion, and you have to do it from your heart. It's not enough just to be intellectual. Although it's good to the intellect is still the strongest power of the mind, in the sense that all your actions is being determined by your intellect. And when people say, well, you got to follow your heart, well, that's good. Yeah, it's true. You got to follow your heart, but it's still an intellectual saying. It's still the intellect that says, oh, I'm going to follow my heart. So, but anyway, of course, the heart is beyond the words. The emotions is beyond the words. But it's really important to try to connect emotionally, and that it goes through our love, through our devotion to the practice, and devotion to knowledge, and devotion and love is essentially my own nature. That consciousness is love. My being is love. So what is meant by love? Love is not a feeling. Love is presence. And whatever I give my presence to, that's what I love. If I sit in front of the computer all day, that's what I love. If I walk in nature all day or often, that's what I love. If I am with my children, that's who I love. If I am with my partner, that's whom I love. Isn't that what the partner says? Oh, you don't love me anymore because you just watching TV all day. So it means that if you don't give attention to your partner, the partner will experience, well, I don't love you anymore. So love is this very misused word that people connect to all kinds of sentimental, rosy feelings and so on, but it's not really a feeling, it's your presence, which is love. And so consciousness is love, and in the sense that it's good to be alive. It's good to exist. If my nature was to be depressed, I would be happy when I got depressed. But in fact, my own being is bliss, is a blissful nature. And that's where I want to be. So if I can just get rid of all my thoughts, then I will be happy. And that's what happens when I get what I want. I remember once I fell in love with a gorgeous woman. We dated each other on the internet, and she sent these pictures and so on, and we became madly in love with each other. And I became extremely happy. Because before that, I had these periods of loneliness. I felt lonely. I needed a woman in my life. And so when she said, well, I want to be with you, I became extremely happy. But the point was that she was traveling a lot. So actually I had to wait for 3 weeks before we could meet each other. But for those 3 weeks, I was extremely happy. And then the question is, well, where did that happiness come from? Because I hadn't met the woman yet. Okay. And so obviously the happiness has to come from myself. And so what is happening is that I have this desire, I have this lack. I'm telling myself I'm lacking something. I feel lonely. I lack a partner. And so when the partner comes, or when she just says that I'm going to step into your life, then the feeling of lack disappears. The desire disappears. And what happens is that my true nature shines forth, just like the sun when you remove the clouds. So my nature is bliss and happiness, but it's being disturbed by my desires and my concepts, or my dualistic concepts of that I lack something, because I don't. I am whole and complete. That's my nature, and that is love. So that's the heart of devotion, so which is important to include in the practice and is an important qualification. The last qualification is a desire, a burning desire for liberation. A burning desire for liberation. There is a story of Ramakrishna who there is a student who asked, well how important, how much desire for liberation should one have? And Ramakrishna, he didn't answer the question, but later they went down to the Ganges and had a morning bath, and when the disciple had his one head under the water, Ramakrishna pushed his head down, and so he became completely desperate and he thought he was going to drown. And then after some time, Ramakrishna let go of his head, and so he came to the surface, and Ramakrishna said, well, this is the answer to your question. As much as you wanted to survive and to have air when I held you under the water, that is how much you wanted to have to desire liberation. So, we're not there. Most people are not there, but we do have a desire for liberation. And what I've experienced in my life is that it started out kind of slow, like a fire, in the sense that a fire starts out slow like a burning candle, and then it starts to expand. And so once you get this knowledge, the desire for liberation really catches on, and it becomes more and more burning. So that can happen, and when you get true knowledge, I don't think this flame is going to die. It's a one-way road. When you started this, there is no going back. So burning desire for liberation, and that is very individual for each person, but you can cultivate it, and the more knowledge you get, and the deeper you go into the path, and the more you realize, because what is happening is that you become aware of the suffering. You become aware of the limitations and the dissatisfaction of dualism. You become aware of this emptiness and this feeling of alienation, and the inherent suffering of just identifying by being this person. And so these, it gives you a sense of meaning to your life, that you have to solve this suffering, right? And there is peace to be attained. There is permanent contentment to be attained in the process of spiritual practice, and in the process of finding true peace and freedom and liberation. So, burning desire for liberation. Once you have a burning desire for liberation, the teaching or the teacher will appear. It's called, when the disciple is ready, the guru appears. And the problem is not the gurus, the problem is the disciple, in the sense that there are gurus, there are teachers out there, and they're longing to have disciplined disciples. And so a disciple is a person who is able to discipline himself and to have a practice. And so this is the qualification that we can work on ourselves, in the sense that we can become disciples, in the sense that we are disciplined in our lives, and then we will attract the knowledge. We will attract the right students or the right teacher for us. But a guru doesn't necessarily need to be a man with a beard, or a swami, or a sannyasin, or whatever. But life itself is a guru. Life teaches us all the time, and but our responsibility is to do our part of the work, and our part of the work is to be a good disciple. And where we're a good disciple, we will attract the right teacher.